Yeah.
Or she'll jump back in. This one is about the if plan. The if this, then that plan. And this is rooted, just to give you a summary, this is, ever heard of an implementation intention? If not, don't
Well,
worry.
not really.
Basically, it's developed by Peter Gollwitzer from New York University. And one of the most consistently replicated findings in behavioral psychology is implementations, and it's specific. If this happens, then that, and it plans sort of. If we have those plans in place, they outperform really vague goal setting across loads of behaviors: diet, exercise, even medication adherence, cancer screening attendance. So, you know, this is going to be a bit different to, you know, what you what we normally talk about, because I don't want you to necessarily leave with an idea. I want you to leave with a plan. And there's a specific written plan. So if you are making notes, pen and paper, that is even better, because I'd love you to build that out before the close of this session. So just to recap, we've talked about the willpower myth. We've talked about the story about how you tell yourself about how hard week shapes whether you recover or whether you spiral. We've talked about why the inner critic is not keeping you accountable and it's pushing you more towards the exit. All of that is mindset work. It's important, it's necessary, it's foundational, it's even transformational. But today is a practical session. If I was, whenever I think of practical sessions, I always think of just like when we're at school and we're around tables and we're like cutting stuff out. I don't know why I think that, but that's what I think. And I think that today we're looking at one particular tool. It takes around 15 seconds to build. So let me get the dog hairs off the keyboard. And essentially, it's the most researched behavior change technique that exists. It's not a study. It's not a theory. It's been repeated over so many decades across thousands of people, across I don't know, dozens, maybe even hundreds types of goals. So by the end of this live, I want you to have finished this live with a written one for yourself, and that's the deal, right? So I'll start with the problem that this tool solves, because I think you're going to recognize it immediately. Most of us set goals that sound like this: I'm going to eat better this week. I'm going to move more. I'm going to get to bed earlier. I'm going to go stop reaching for the biscuits in the afternoon. And these feel like plans. They feel like a commitment to yourself. And in the moment you say them, I really think that we mean them completely. We really do. The problem is they're not really plans. They're sort of intentions. So I intend to go to bed earlier this week. And there's a very specific and very important difference between the two, because an intention tells you what you want to do. A plan tells you when, where, and how you will do it. And that gap between the intention and the plan is exactly where life just gets in the way, messes things up. Because I'm going to eat better this week does not tell your brain what to do at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Perhaps I'm on a Zoom.
It's not going to tell you what to do at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday when you're tired. You're arguing with your spouse, whether you're working late, your inbox is full, or whether you're standing up at the kitchen cupboard going, what should I have? In that moment, with that much noise, the brain sort of defaults to the easiest available option, the path of least resistance. It's the habit, it's the familiar path, and it doesn't default to the intention that we set, because the intention has no instructions for that exact moment. So then you go, oh, fucking hell, just willpower. I've got no willpower. But it's not a willpower problem, it's a specificity problem. So I want to know, just type it in the comments. What is your version of the vague intention that keeps not turning into action? What do you keep intending that keeps tends to not happen? And I want to see, just a comment from you both, because I'm going to explain as I'm going along. Because this researcher is a psychologist. He's Peter Gollwitzer, New University. He spent his career studying the gap right? Studying the gap between intending to do something and actually doing it. And the tool he developed from that research is called an implementation intention. And it sounds really complicated, but the format is as simple as it gets. And it goes like this: if specific situation happens, then I will specific behavior. And that is the whole thing. If it is 4 p.m. and I feel the pull to the cupboard, then I will have my protein snack first and wait 10 minutes. If I finish my work for the day, then I will put my trainers on before I sit down. If I get into bed, then I'll put my phone on the other side of the room before I lie down. These are implementation intentions. And across decades of research, this format outperforms vague goal setting significantly. It's not a small way. These aren't small ways. The studies have shown really meaningful increases in follow through across all kinds of behaviors, from diet and exercise, weight loss, to medication, to what else did I say at the beginning? Oh yeah, attending cancer screenings and stuff like that. Even just like admin stuff, putting admin stuff off. Like this has helped with that. So like the effect is really robust, and it's very, very easy to replicate across multiple different populations, and multiple different goals. And the reason is because you have done the deciding in advance. You've done it in a calm moment. You've done it before the trigger ever arrives, because the trigger hijacks, your emotion, so you just can't think logically. And when that actual moment hits, tired, distracted, tempted, you're not relying on motivation or willpower in the moment. You are just running the plan that you've already made when you had a lot more capacity, when you were calm, and that decision has been made. So you're just following it. And it sounds really simple. You're like, that sounds so simple. But simple is not the same as easy, and simple is not the same as weak. So the research does not care about whether it sounds impressive. It cares about whether it works, and this bloody works, right? So, how to build one that actually sticks. I think there is a difference between an if plan that works and one that does not. And it comes down to three things. If you get these right, and the tool that you will use then is really powerful. If you get them wrong, it's just a vague intention that dresses up as I suppose in a different format that you're just not going to follow through. So follow these rules. Rule one is the situation has to be specific, not eventually, not when I feel like it, a real, concrete, recognizable moment, a day of time, a place, a trigger that already happens reliably in your life. If it's 4 p.m., if I sit down at my desk, if I get in the car, whenever you think about that, if I'm drop it for Shan, if you struggle in a particular moment, let's say you drop Jack off, and then you somehow go to the get sweets or whatever. Can we just make it very specific? The more specific the situation, the more reliably your brain is going to recognize it when it arrives, and then it's going to connect it to the plan. Rule two: the behavior has to be specific. Not, I will be good. I will go to bed earlier. I will make a healthy choice. It has to be a concrete action. I will drink a glass of water. I will put my trainers on. I will do 5 minutes of movement. I will have the protein snack I have already prepared. Vague behaviors are just vague intentions inside that if and then structure. They don't work any better. So you have to have these rules. Rule three is attach it to something that already happens reliably in your day. The if part of the plan should not be something you have to remember to notice. It should be something that shows up in your routine regardless. So if it's your morning coffee, your morning tea, the end of work, lunchtime at work, it could be getting into bed. The existing routine and the existing event then becomes the trigger for the new behavior. So you're not building a new habit from scratch. You are linking a new behavior to an existing one, and that is what makes it stick. So we have specific situation, specific behavior, anchored to something that already happens. Now, the mistakes that make it stop working is, let me show you what a broken plan looks like. Because I've seen loads of women build these and then wonder why it didn't hold. A broken one is, if I feel motivated, then I will exercise. That is not an if-then plan. Motivation is not a specific situation. It is a feeling. and it is exactly the feeling that will not be there when you most need the plan to kick in. The whole point of the tool is to remove the dependence on feeling a particular way, because if we just rely on our feelings, we won't get anything done, because we'll always choose to default to comfort. That is human nature. That is natural for us, comfort. We don't choose discomfort. Sorry, the body doesn't want discomfort. It wants, just chill, just watch that another Netflix episode, just chill on the bed all day. You know what I mean? Another broken one would be, if I have time, then I will meal prep. That time is not a trigger either. Time is something that disappears, and the plan that is conditional on having time means it will never happen on days when it matters most. And they are days that you have the most time. They are days that you generally have the least time. Another one is, if I eat something bad, then I will do better tomorrow. This one sounds like self-compassion, but it is actually giving, it's permission giving in disguise. Tomorrow is not a specific situation; it is a moving target, right? And we never get to tomorrow, do we? So, so think about those things and see if you're making mistakes when you think about your own. Now, a working one. If it is Sunday at 3 p.m., then I will spend 30 minutes preparing the food I need for Monday and Tuesday. Specific time, specific day, specific behavior, already part of the weekend rhythm. That one sticks. Now, can you spot which of your current intentions, if you are doing any of these, is actually broken in one of those ways? If you can, drop it in the comments. So I'm going to go through them in a minute. Yeah, and I think this matters more because I need to add the menopause layer here, because I think this makes this tool even more important than it would be at any other life stage. We have perimenopause that brings a real and documented impact on executive function. Executive function basically is sort of decision making, but you've got to imagine the prefrontal cortex. This is the part that makes us human, the part of the brain at the front that handles planning, decision making, impulse regulation, and it is very sensitive to estrogen. As estrogen fluctuates and declines, many women notice that their capacity to make considered decisions in the moment, especially when tired or stressed, is genuinely reduced. This is not imagined; it is purely biological, and this is why I firmly believe women need more support in the workplace, especially as you're into perimenopause and menopause, because you feel that executive function impacted. And that means then that you are mostly relying on when you try to make a good choice at 4 p.m. under stress. Your in the moment decision making capacity is exactly the thing that is running on less resources than it used to. So the old approach of just try harder and rely on willpower in the moment was imperfect, to be honest, in your 30s. At 50, 55, 60, it's just a losing strategy. I don't think you're going to win with that strategy. And this is why, I don't like to talk about bad mouth of the programs, but, we've been talking about one in particular, Sharon, this person who's a bit crude on the old socials. He's all just about just willpower. You just got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. There's no strategies around it. And I think that, the if and then plan doesn't end run around all that, because essentially the decision was made yesterday or whenever you made that implementation intention, in a calm moment when your capacity was higher, you were chilled on the couch or wherever you were. So by the time that trigger hits, there's no decision left to make. The plan is just running, right? So you've taken the choice out of the worst possible moment, you've put it back into the best possible one. That is not cheating. That is being intelligent about your biology. Now, let's build yours. This is the bit where I actually need you to do the thing rather than just follow along and just go, yes, Dean, no, Dean, 3 bags full, sir, Dean. Think about the moment in your week where things most reliably go sideways. The one thing that comes to mind, 4 p.m. cupboard, 8 p.m. Dinner movie with the spouse, whatever it is, the evening phone scroll, the morning movement that just seems to not happen, or the morning walk, the meal preparation that never quite gets done. or it might be the wind down routine that turns into two more hours of being online. Whatever your version is, now write this and fill in the blanks with your actual life. If, and then your specific moment, then I will, your specific behavior. So it's not a behavior you aspire to, it is a behavior that is genuinely achievable in that moment. Small is fine. Small that happens beats really ambitious, because if the small that happens and the really ambitious one that doesn't happen, you're making progress on the small. You're doing that 1% better, right? If you cannot picture, like, don't do this. Don't go. If I've not hit my steps, then I will go and run 20Ks. Come on, hello, ambitious, stupid. You probably, for me, I wouldn't even do that, and I've been running a bit more recently, but it's just too much for me, right? Don't be too ambitious with this, right? Because if you cannot picture yourself actually doing the behavior you've written down when you're tired and when you're stressed, make it smaller until you can visualize it. Right. So, pen and paper. If your specific moment, then I will your specific behavior. Right? Write it down in your notes section on a piece of pen and paper. I actually love pen and paper for writing stuff down like this. I want it to exist somewhere outside of your memory, because the research on implementation intention consistently finds they work better when they're written rather than just held as a thought here. Because you'll come away with this knowing it, but if you write it down, you will start to implement it. Because what happens is your brain treats written plans differently to mental ones. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So I'm going to ask to see one from you both, please. Basically, what I'm looking for when I read yours is, we're not rushing this, by the way. We'll take our time. But does the if describe a real recognizable moment in your actual week? Does the then describe something you could actually do in that moment, even on a hard day? If the answer to both is yes, you've built a plan. If the answer is no, let's fix it together. Right? Let me open up the. Okay, so these are comments from just before. You got the. I can head back to those in a minute, but do you have the if and then ones now? Okay, Carol. Before I leave the house, I will leave a piece of fruit on the side. If I get home and reach for a snack cupboard, I will eat the fruit instead. Love it. Love it. Do you have an issue? If I leave the house, I'll leave a piece of fruit on the side. If I get home and reach for a snack cupboard, I will eat the fruit. Is that something that you consistently do? You come back from wherever you've been and then you go reach for the cupboard, or is it a specific time?
It's usually the days I've been to see Terry,
Yeah.
and
So you're a bit emotionally.
So I've been with him for most of the afternoon, and it is hard work when you're with him. But when I get home, I'm ready to eat, but even though I can't figure out what I want to eat, I'm not hungry, but I'm ready to eat, if you know what I mean. And I'll just reach for whatever, a slice of bread and, just even a slice of toast, something like that. I mean, I do eat protein bread rather than ordinary bread, as I call it, but even so, so I need to swap that because that's not the best option.
So if you're reaching for carbs, huh?
Sorry?
You're reaching for carbohydrates, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it comes from an emotional low. I wouldn't say low, but you're definitely not baseline normal when you come back after seeing Terry. You may be a bit lower, more. Let's say, for lack of a better word, emotionally sensitive because of you don't like seeing him in that situation, maybe because he said that he doesn't really recognize you much anymore. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't know me at all anymore. So
so like that's you come back from that, and you, even though you know what to sort of generally expect, it's still a fucking punch in the gut.
yeah,
So it's like, oh, and then you try and pick it up and you reach for something that's carbohydrate based
yeah,
rather than, yeah. Okay, so that's a good one. I think so. Make it, if it's when you come back from Terry. So before I leave the house to see Terry, I will leave a piece of fruit on the side, or protein shake sachet, or like a scoop in a bag, and it's there.
hmm,
Because then if I get home, I reach for that.
yeah.
Sort of snack
I
cupboard.
have I have recently introduced as well. I've started taking collagen to see if it helps with the aches and pains. So I
Mhm.
have a coffee when I get home as well, and I have my collagen in that because you don't. It's tasteless. So that's a new routine. I've only been doing that for a week and a half.
Okay.
So yeah, so I could sit down with the coffee and my bit of fruit, and do that instead of my carbs. Yeah, I hadn't really, even though I was reaching for those kinds of things, I hadn't really labelled them as carbs. So
Always,
yeah,
whenever it's that situation, it's always I wouldn't say always. It's 95, 99% carbohydrates people reach for. People
yeah,
don't reach for they're looking for something sweet generally to pick it up.
yeah.
Um and carbohydrates will deliver that. Um yeah, I think that's pretty good that if you add a protein like on those particular days, that if you find that's when you do it,
Hmm.
that
Well, there's
you
there's 12 grams of protein in the collagen.
true, but
So
don't count that towards your diet. Don't count that towards your daily protein intake.
right, okay,
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 because that's not a good source to. That's really good, but that has a different fuel. That has a different utilization than protein we get from food and whey powders. Okay,
right, okay, okay.
I'll
Yeah.
explain the two in a minute once we've done all of this, because that's actually a really common mistake people make. People go, "Oh, I have my collagen. I have like two of those a day. It's 20 grams." I'm like, that doesn't count towards your dietary um,
Right.
protein. So that's a really. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sharon, if I don't want to go for a walk, put my trainers on and see how I feel, as it normally makes me go. So this is exactly right. I think I'll tell you why it works so well, because what you've stumbled on then, and it's probably from me telling you to do this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Say no, I thought of it myself. You cheeky bugger, taking all the credit. Um, like this, behavioral scientists call this. They call it reducing the activation energy of a habit. So what that is you're not asking yourself in that moment to go for a walk. You're asking yourself to just put trainers on. That's it. That's the commitment. It's tiny, isn't it? It's almost nothing, and those tiny commitments are almost impossible to say no to, even on the worst of days, the most stressful days. Just put your trainers on. That's it. And then what happens is something really interesting happens once the trainers are on. The friction then is gone. The barrier of entry into that habit has gone. So what happens is your identity shifts slightly. So now you're someone with their trainers on. The brain has connected that to what normally comes next, which is the walk,
Mhm.
right? And it's very rare people put the trainers on in the house and just go up and down the stairs, just to the loo. So the research on implementation's intention says that the most effective plans are the ones where the behavior is then small enough to be done, even when the motivation is zilch, right? So you've nailed that. Putting trainers on takes 20 seconds, requires nothing from you emotionally. So
Mm.
the fact that you already know that works for you is the most important part. You've got your own evidence. That makes it a plan to build on, because it's built on your self knowledge, right? It's not built on optimism, and those are the plans that stick, and that's why you've achieved what you've achieved. So keep this one exactly as it is. Um, it is working because it is honest about how you actually function, not about how you should function. People think, oh, I should be motivated. I should be able to go for a walk, whatever. I'm the queen of the hive or whatever. most people, myself included, I don't want to go for a morning walk. I don't want to, tomorrow morning I'm gonna have to go to the gym I have to wake up at like 4:45, 5 o'clock to get to the gym, which is a 45-minute drive. I don't want to do that, but I know, for just for me in that morning when I wake up, if I wake up straight away, go make a coffee, I'm fine. I'm up. I'm ready. And I don't miss it, because if I miss it, then I miss all of it eats into the day. It's such a journey. It's like 45-minute there, 45-minute back, and let's say we spend an hour and 15 in the gym. It's like 3 hours out of our day. You just can't do that throughout the work day. We get nothing done. Speak to just like 2 people maximum. So yeah, I like that one, Sharon. Love it. Cool. So yeah, I think brilliant. Let's go over the summary. So we said vague intentions fail at the moment you need them most, because they leave the decision to the worst possible version of you. That version is tired. It's stressed. She's stressed. She's depressed. Even she's low. She's emotional. Whatever it is. And if then plan removes that decision from that worst moment and puts it in a better one. And as all the research says, that a simple shift changes what actually happens. So you two have built one today, which is fantastic. That is your homework. Run it every single time the trigger hits this week. Not forever, just this week, right? And notice whether it changes what you do in the moment, and then come back and tell me next Tuesday. So yeah, in the community, in the WhatsApp, please, actually, because we're going to start to utilize the WhatsApp more. Drop it in there, because I want to see everyone, and we can just obviously discuss it. A mosquito, no. I'm going to get you. I've been bitten on this live as we're talking. Like, it's been so bad. Don't know if that's the culprit. But I want to see them. If yours needs tightening up, if you've got another one, Ian, we're going to tell you exactly how to fix it so it actually holds when that sort of moment happens. All right, cool. So next in the series, I think we'll talk about, we're looking at what is actually in your control right now, and specifically the menopause reframe that hands a significant chunk of control straight back to you. Because most people, I think, and I think that maybe this is the way that it's marketed to you, but most people talk about menopause in a negative light, right? If you join the menopause support groups, it's like, oh, it's all this, and it's a lot of I don't want to say that word, victimhood. I don't want to say that because even though it is probably the hardest portion of your life, I don't know what puberty is like for girls, but I know it is difficult. A changing body. I didn't get it, but I know that if you reframe the way that you see things, this is fact. Even if you are in a difficult situation, your outlook will be better. So what we're going to look at is, what you're in control of, right? We're basically taking ownership, and that is so empowering. That is not a, oh, this has happened to me, therefore I will not be able to, listen to the narrative that people say. I'm in menopause, therefore I can't lose weight. And there are a lot of beliefs like that these women genuinely believe, and probably, I'm not joking, 9 out of 10 of our clients, 99 out of 10 of our clients, what's the figure I'm looking for? 90% of our clients probably thought that right at the beginning. They're like, oh, I just can't lose weight. Menopause now. Fucked. I just can't do it. And it's built on poor evidence, but it's also the stuff that you read online. People just constantly saying, oh, this is menopause is all crap, all doom and gloom. And I'm not saying it's bloody, menopause is like Disneyland, but I do think that the way that you approach situations, even if it's a challenging situation, I think that really helps you make a decision from empowerment rather than from a place of lack of control, because that's really stressful. That's really not ideal. But I will explain more of it later, because I think after today's talk, sorry, the one before and today's, I think it's going to go, you're going to go, fuck, yeah, brilliant. So it's all about, and if you're not sure what I'm talking about with kind of stuff like this, I'd love for you to read a book called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. She's a fantastic scientist who talks about the menopausal brain as well, but she talks about there's essentially two ways to see things, and if you see something with a fixed mindset, you are more likely to sort of recoil into victimhood and be like, oh, the world is against me and menopause is against me. And if you see things in a growth mindset, you're like, menopause is bloody tough, but this is what I'm going to do to navigate this weight loss, right? And you can have, they're malleable. So you can be, if you're around a really negative bunch of people, let's say you're around 5 people that are really overweight, right? And all they talk about, they're gossipers, and they're talking about, oh, this woman's, she's always been a big lady. Oh God, yeah, she's, and the gossipers, and they're talking, oh, I'll never lose the weight, so I'll eat this and this. What kind of beliefs are you associating yourself with? Not just the environment you're in, but the beliefs that you're constantly hearing.
All negativity.
Stuff, right? But if you're around 5 fit people, maybe you're the unfittest of the group, and they're the same age as you, they're the same, essentially they've got osteoarthritis in their knee as well, and they're like, yeah, I did my first park run 5K the other day, and you're like this. Hold on a second, why can't I do that? This is the kind of stuff that you start asking yourself, and then you start to see what is possible because all these people are winning, and you're like, okay, cool, and that puts you into a growth mindset. Yeah, so that's what we'll talk about next week. I didn't mean to keep you for another 40 minutes, but I'm glad you did turn up, both of you two. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think that is all. I think that is all.
That's good.
I just saw the chat. I've just brought up the chat, and it's brought up chats from 17th of March. What the hell?
Wow.
Someone's saying, thanks so much. Zebras, you Carol, zebras you put in our minds. That was in April when we talked about zebras. I can't remember. Anyway, I don't know why that chat's history there. But cool. We are golden. I'll download this. Put your intentions into the group, please, into the WhatsApp group. And enjoy the rest of your week. If there's any questions, just hit us up in WhatsApp.
Will do.
All right. So I love you and leave you.
Dean. Yeah, thanks very much again.
You're welcome. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, see you, Sharon. Bye. Bye.
Bye.